Microsoft has now a monthly channel. So you can, instead of doing twice yearly updates, you can do monthly updates. And I just totally stole this from Adrian Orth. I also have the 1 hour presentation that he did, the recording of that. So maybe we can get Mariah to host that someplace, or we'll figure out someplace for it and you can go watch the whole hour show. But let's see. So why a monthly channel? Well, the problem with twice a year is that it's that big drop. As Colby said, you spend a lot of time, you hear about stuff, and and nothing's happening. And in the case of Microsoft, they drop these big changes, and all of a sudden UI's change, where things happen, this and that. They see a drop in their INSAT. They see that people are less satisfied because of these big changes. And so the idea is now you'll have monthly changes, smaller changes, things that people can get on board with sooner. You can see them, and then hopefully it will just kind of seem like a continuous uh, small changes. And I guess the risk, as I was listening to this, was it may seem like death by 1,000 paper cuts, and people just are like, I don't even want to touch the system anymore. We'll see. The nice thing is you can turn it on or off. So how do the monthly releases work? So a twice yearly release, if we look at this, have our 2003 release wave 1. There's, they start in February with the preview rollout, 8 weeks of preview, and then 6 weeks of GA rollout. And so depending on your location, and you can sign up for it earlier or later, but at the end of 6 weeks, everybody is on 2003 release wave 1. And then they immediately kind of start the 2003 release wave 2, preview rollouts, preview, that, and you get the idea. It happens twice a year. And usually it's going to be in April and October when those things start hitting. Okay. So now this is the monthly rollout. So you'll see that they have a May, June, July, August, September release. Wave 1 happens in October, but they also have the October monthly. And then in theory, this is kind of a, if you listen to the full presentation, kind of in an ideal world, everything in the monthly roll up would go into the twice yearly roll up. So my 2003 wave 2 just becomes the May, June, July, August, and September monthly roll ups. And then when you listen to it, it's like, well, but maybe if there's problems, we might pull it out. We might put it into a different one. So in an ideal world, everything just in the monthly rollouts, that becomes the twice yearly rollout. You're just getting things earlier. That you do run the risk of something coming in, it's not well received, and it doesn't make that next twice yearly rollout. And now you've got some people who have, if you've taken a dependency on something, you could run into problems. So um, the idea with multiple channels is that we can control which channel we're on. We can control how we will look at those, and when we will look at them, and how we can work with them. So we get semi-annual is still there for organizations that want to just have these kind of big drops. I think about we did stuff, and they had to, because they serve deaf and hard of hearing people, any training they did, they have to do, the sign language and videos and all the other things around that. So they would probably prefer the semi-annual channel just because it gives them a chance to say, okay, we're going to do these videos and we're going to have people watch them. And there's a lot of stuff that went into developing those videos, and on a monthly basis may or may not be the kind of thing that they want to be dealing with. Um, but eventually off the monthly, those will all end up showing up into a semi-annual sometimes. So if you want to start playing with the monthly ones, you can do that, and you can also control it for different people. So on the monthly, every 4 weeks or so, you get to see them. One of the things that they did point out is that as they roll things out, the US in North America generally is the last people to get any changes. And the reason for that is that we're the largest group, and so they want to start with the smaller groups and see if there's any problems. So I guess if you really want to see things early on, in production, maybe go spin up something in the Singapore data center. I don't know. I don't know if Singapore is the smallest area. They didn't say where they start at, but North America tends to be the last. So the other thing is that we have flexibility and the ability to override and set where things will happen. So at the organization level, an admin can change and say, what is going to be our strategy? Are we going to stay on the semi-annual or are we going to go to monthly? And then for a particular user, um, that defaults down, but the user can actually override. So if the organization is still set to semi-annual, but if I want to go in and for a particular user, set them to be monthly, I could do that. And then also add a app level. You can set for a model-driven app and say what its cadence will be. Okay, so you go into Power Platform Admin Center, you go and you set up your refresh cadence. And I went and found this, but I had to go into environments, settings, and then I had to search for behavior. I could not find on the UI how to get in there, but searching on behavior, boom, I found for the org, um, for a particular user channel. Again, you can set the user channel override none, which just says take the default, or for this user, be semi-annual or monthly. And then on the maker level, you can go ahead and for your app, you can set what those would be. So that gives you those. And let's see. Yeah, so this is again just showing a little bit bigger screenshot there, semi-annual or monthly channel. If you don't set anything, it defaults to semi-annual. They're just going to keep things the way that it has been all along. You can go in and if you do the about, once you turn on the monthly, you will see channel monthly and you'll see um, the version that you're on. So what which monthly one do you have installed? And that becomes important because, no, wait, sorry. The admin override producer, they said it's coming soon. It should be here by now. This was a presentation done about 6 weeks ago, and they said it was coming soon. So I haven't double checked to see that this is there. And then again, just a bigger screenshot of if you're going into your model-driven app, you go to your upcoming and you say you want this app to be on the monthly channel. So you can do that. This here was confusing for me because it'll say validation release and then future rollout release. Basically is in order to get the 230501. So in order to get the May one, I would have to be on the monthly and already have April downloaded. In order to get June's, I have to have the previous month. So I can't skip months, basically is what this is saying. And then it rolls out, and these are dates that they've given, although I'm not sure that these are actual dates or sample dates. It was a little unclear to me, but basically, um, so FREGOs basically sounded like it was Microsoft internal stuff that nobody, in the real world gets to see these. And then this is where they started talking about going out to the monthly channel to different geos. So, in the US, I don't remember if we were 5 or 6, but we were towards the end. Yeah,
Hi,
North
Scott.
America was towards the end. Yeah.
Looks like
Logan.
you got a hand
Yep.
up. Yep.
Yeah, I was just wondering on the user, do they have like is it just the apps that they own that it's deciding to update them to the newest versions? I'm just trying to wrap my head around how that would work at the user level.
Okay, you were cutting out there, so I didn't didn't hear the question.
Oh, sorry. Hear me now? That sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was just wondering with the user channel, is it just like the apps that they own that it's updating those, or I'm just wondering how it's keeping them on the newest release, like if the data model changes with
Yeah, so as you get the monthly release, they'll put whatever they're putting in those releases. They did say that they wouldn't be adding any new tables. to the monthly releases. So you're not going to have structural changes. It's going to be more UI and functionality and maybe forms, maybe other things that they're providing. And so then in my model-driven app, if I create a new model-driven app, I can say keep this one on monthly, and it'll download. And it sounds like what they're doing is just doing kind of a feature flag thing
Mhm.
where it's all getting downloaded anyway. It's just only turned on for certain apps or certain users or certain whatever else that might be part of that. So
Got it. Yeah, because I was thinking if it's anything like data driven, then you got data all over the place. But if it's just like mainly UI stuff, then
yeah, yeah. They said that the any table changes, anything structural, would only come in the twice yearly roll up. So so those will be gated that way, and everyone gets those whether you want them or not. So that sounds like
yeah,
that's not a problem. Yeah.
awesome. Thanks.
All right. Yeah. Okay. There are release notes. You can go out, you can see, um, read, here's the new look, here's how you turn it on, here's how you don't. They hard to see, but down at the bottom, they have the target of when the semi-annual release wave, when this will show up for everybody else. So one of the things you could do is if you have power users testing whatever, you could set them on the monthly and then keep the rest of the people, I'm sorry, keep the rest of the people on the semi-annual. That's one strategy that you got to kind of deal with risk tolerance and change management and everything else with all of your users there. So, um, the monthly channel, faster improvements, you can start small. You can decide who gets to what. And, the other thing is that because preview releases, they be put out there, but really how many of us have time to go out and do that? So by doing this monthly, we'll see Microsoft's hoping to get more feedback, more um, information and just more testing in general and get a better product when that semi-annual comes around. Okay. Here's some links. Like I said, we'll get the PDF or the um, PowerPoint of this up there. But you can go out and see the release notes. You can see how this all works. And the other thing I didn't talk about, but there's also a URL. You can go in there and you can do ampersand. Uh, if you're on monthly, you do ampersand release channel equals, and then you do the three characters for the month, and I'm trying to remember if it's 2 or 4 digit year. I think it's 4 digit year. And so on a session basis, you can also do the monthly. I went through our JT demos and the different apps or the different environments there. I didn't find any that were on monthly, and I didn't want to switch any over to monthly just because I was like, I don't know if somebody's doing a demo tomorrow and suddenly if the UI changes on them, they'll be freaked out. And so I didn't go and get this set up, but you can also on a per session basis. So if you want to flip the monthly channel on, but then put your apps to the semi-annual, so it would look like nothing had changed for the users, but you go in and use that browser tag to then change. And so you could go in for a single session for testing or whatever and say, okay, what's this going to look like in the new UI and the new um, monthly releases there. So.